Well, as always, I think everything's fun when it comes to art. And, I have this bad habit saying, well, this is my favorite thing to do. Well, I guess in art, when you're doing it, it is your favorite thing to do, or you wouldn't be doing it, because art is one of those things you choose to do it. Art is very subjective. You paint what you want, you paint what you feel, you paint what's in the mood for. So if you're painting it, you're loving it. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start a brand new painting. These are things that are dear to my heart, and of course, we're always going through the cards, letters, and emails we get from you all from all around the world, and we search those every week, every single week. We're looking at these, trying to come up with new things, because I've been doing this now, folks, for over 30 years. I've painted a lot of paintings over the years, and now it's getting a little harder and harder to find things that we can do on TV that are uniquely different and fit this format. Well, I finally found one. Have you ever had a photograph or thing, where you finally looked at it for months, and you said, man, I want to paint that someday. I want to paint that someday. Well, I've got one here that's been sitting on my reference table. I have a big reference table, and I've got stacks of photos and reference files, and I every once in a while lay some things out, and I'll just look at them. Well, one of my students gave me this photograph that I'm getting ready to show you many months ago, and I fell in love with it. I keep thinking, I'm going to do this someday. I'm going to do this someday. So I finally decided just last night that I'm going to do this one today on the program, and someday I may do a larger version of it in my studio. But here it is. It's a simple thing, but it's so attractive. Isn't that just beautiful? This is a coyote in a field, and I'm not quite sure where this is at, but I think it's in somewhere in the Midwest, up in one of the tall grass prairie areas. And this is just this coyote standing there, silhouetted against a beautiful. It's just a phenomenal photograph. But there's a lot of learning thing to this, you guys, that you're going to love. This is something I haven't showed you all before, and that's another thing I always look for, things that we haven't done before. And then when I was looking through my reference file, I just happened to see this kind of identical. Now, I didn't take this photo, this was out of a magazine. But isn't this cool? Here's this goose, almost an identical situation in the tall grasses, the golden tones. So you could use this same setting for multiple kinds of animals. So my point is, if you don't want the coyote in there, you might want to put a goose or who knows, a wolf or something else, a fox. Anyway, I'm going to use, this is an acrylic painting. I'm using a 16 by 20 canvas board, and I've graded as usual. And I've lightly sanded it to get some of the tooth off of it. Now let me remind you why we use certain surfaces. In some paintings, like a landscape or something like that, where detail isn't as important, I like a canvas that's got a little more texture, that's a little give to it. I like a stretched canvas. Here, when you do wildlife, where you want a little more cleaner, crisper edges, I like a harder surface. You can use masonite. It's been treated. We've talked about that before. You might always use untempered masonite. Sand it. Put a couple of coats of gesso. Sand between each coat, and then you can get whatever surface you want. It's just that when you have a harder surface, you can get a little better detail. Now, if you use a canvas board, all that is a piece of good, high quality, pH balanced, acid free board that's got canvas glued on it. Be sure it's archival, which means it's museum quality. Okay. Now, here we go. What we're going to do is as usual, the first lesson or two will just be underpainting, getting it blocked in. And believe it or not, this little photograph, there's a lot of stuff going on here. We're going to refer to it really often. Now, if you'll notice underneath here, if you look for the animal is here, the coyote. See the real dark values underneath there? See those real dark tones? That's where the painting starts. And I might remind all of you that every painting starts that way. May not always start out that dark, but in this one it will. So we're going to underpaint the whole thing in different values of this darker brown. Yeah, we'll end up with some of these reds, gold. I'll show you these little crispy things. I actually brought another research piece here. I just went through my files. This is out of book number 76. You can see even here some big, tall weeds. I like this kind of stuff. Here's the one I look for. See how there's nice tall weeds in there? So, you can go to your files and find additional reference material to help you with some of the more detailed things in your painting. That's why I use multiple books to work from. All right, here we go. Time to get started. I'll quit yakking. Now we're going to go to our number 10 bristle brush. Down here to our traditional dirty palette, which most of you laugh about. Now this is a little bit, I might mention this too because some of you will get frustrated with this. This is a little bit of a boring painting in some ways, just because there's a lot of repetitive work going on. But if you start down here, see how I'm modeling everything together? It doesn't really matter. I want you to take your burnt sienna, a little burnt umber, and a little bit of purple. And we're going to take it, see it's nice and creamy. We're going to start up here at the top. And I want all of you to work up and down like this. See I'm going up and down? So if you'll just bear with me. Now one of the things you guys, I know, because we get cards and letters from you guys all the time, every day. A lot of you, I like to take a painting from scratch. Not one of these programs where I'm going to paint a little bit and then I'll finish a lot of it on my own and you'll see it's almost done. And I've done that now and then. It's still occasionally when we're trying to speed things up. But in this case, it's absolutely critical that we take it from scratch all the way through so you see every step. In this first step, make sure that you start the process off with vertical strokes. And that nice deep brownish tint. See how nice and rich that is? Just like a chocolate brown. Back to the sienna, the umber, and the purple. Now what happens here is, let me just kind of explain these color things to you. The sienna, of course, is the warming agent. The umber helps to darken it and gives it, the umber has a more of a greenish tint to it in some ways. And then the purple kind of richens it. It's a richer, deeper. I want you to notice here, that it doesn't even have to match. What you want is just variations of these darker tones. A lot of vertical strokes up and down, nice and creamy. When you come down here, notice how I'm pulling back. These are all techniques you've got to master. You're going to do this kind of thing. I'm just doing this so fast, you guys, you don't see me doing that. But when I'm painting down, I'm actually lightening my pressure as I come down, so I leave this edge very soft and very subtle. Touches of water, reload. If you need to rebuild some mix, go ahead. Just keep the paint nice and soupy. Well, I shouldn't say soupy. In this case, it really is just kind of creamy. Kind of it's like soft butter. So we're going to take this all the way through. So I really appreciate you guys be really patient with this one. Even though it doesn't look like much is happening, there's a lot going on in this painting. And besides that, in this painting, if you miss one of the layers, you won't get it. It's got to be done just like I'm showing you if you want it to have this effect. And you want to go about halfway. I probably should have gone a little bit further down over here on this side, so I'm going to do that over in here. And you see, I'm going to reload often because I need this nice, a little bit more of an opaque look. And that's another reason for this gray background. Because even though we're painting a little more opaque as much as we can, you're still going to get some background showing through. And that gray background, see, works a lot better than a white canvas. And it's a good idea to go ahead and get started on this vertical movement of the grass effects. Yeah, this is where nearly everyone makes the mistake. I've just recently had several students into the studio that have brought in paintings they've done or getting ready to do. And they'll look at this, like for most of you, if you're kind of new, you look at this photograph and you see all this light colored grass. Well, here's the other thing. Well, how come you're starting it so dark? Well, you're going to see this is going to be a fabulous lesson for those of you that are kind of new to this technique. You always build from dark to light. That's pretty much an old master's technique. And yes, this is dark, but it won't be this dark when we're finished. But the dark is absolutely necessary to give you the depth within the grass. Now, let me explain something else. There's no distance in this painting. There's no horizon line that you can see. Obviously, there would be one somewhere, way above the coyote. So he's kind of down, looking down on top of him. So what you're going to do, this is not a horizontal depth. This is just almost just a straight shot, like you're doing a still life or something. So your depth, if you call it that, if you'll notice, it's just the depth of field that a photographer uses. So when you get down here, this area, if you look real good right through here, this is where most of the focus is. Now here's what's interesting about this painting. This is very detailed here. As you go back, it gets blurrier and blurrier and blurrier and blurrier. See how blurry it gets? And guess what? Even when you come forward, it gets a little blurrier. So a good photographer knows how to close in and use their equipment correctly to create the focus here and not anywhere else. And that's what this is, a beautiful photograph. And we're going to paint it the same way. Now, as you come down, you're actually going to use the same technique and everything, but we are going to add a little color to it. We'll put a little yellow to turn it slightly gold. It's got to turn it kind of a golden color. And you work that up into it like this. And notice how I'm kind of feathering it back and forth in there. So what you do is you take the same color, the sienna, the umber, a little purple, and you add yellow to it. And you create a little more of a golden tint. This. And you go about almost all the way down, just 2 or 3 inches from the bottom. The same thing here. Sure you're feathering into this area. There's no hard lines, soft blended edges. And it's best to use a number 10. Actually, a number 12 would probably even be better. Most of you know I use a 10 most of the time, but I have a 12. You can even go up to a 14. I have a 20. You get into those bigger ones, I'll tell you what, those brushes get really heavy. But I have a number 22 brush that I use for my bigger murals and big paintings. Now see, as I go up, remember, you do the same thing as when you come down. Feather these edges so they're soft. Feather these edges so it's soft. Don't want any hard lines. Now, I know you get sick of me saying these things all the time, you guys, but I've learned one thing in teaching. If I'm repetitive, you will remember it. And that's how I learned. I didn't care if they drilled me and drilled me and drilled me. See, my problem when I was learning how to paint was I painted too commercial. My work always had a stiff, kind of edgy look to it because that's just the way I painted. I like that cleaner line. Well, I wanted to be a fine artist. You might say, it's all art, so don't misunderstand this. It's all art. It's just that I wanted my work to have more of a painterly, softer finish look to it than that edgy look, kind of like a commercial piece. And so it's kind of hard to kind of distinguish yourself between maybe a designer or an illustrator. Harder edges, usually illustrators use, and people, architects, anything that's where it's more design oriented. So they always called me a commercial artist, and I didn't like that. So I wanted to be a little more on the fine art side. It took me a long time to learn to soften edges, blur edges, create the suggestion of things instead of trying to make it look like a photograph. And but remember, it's all art. It's all what you choose. And I'm choosing right now, put a little more gold in here. So you can actually pick up color like this, which we're going to get ready to do here in just a minute, even more. And you can start seeing some of the streaks in here, which are going to really be important to us, especially in the next couple of steps. Okay, we just about got this phase done. Then we'll go to the bottom, kind of finish that out. Then we'll start back at the top again and come down with another layer. I don't really know how many layers it's going to take, folks. It's probably going to take 4 or 5 to get it up to as light as we want it, not counting the detail of the grasses. Now, go to the bottom. This time I'm going to put a little more yellow in here and more on the umber side. Umber and yellow. Gonna leave out some of the sienna. And you might say, why am I doing that? Well, mostly because I just want it to be just a little variety of color, a little golder. And the fact is, because you are the artist, and see that golden tint, that's kind of what I'm shooting for there. Put a little more of that in there. I'm using so much yellow, I'm going to have to get some more out there. Now be sure that your paint is creamy. You want creamy paint when you do this, so be sure that you're using the creaminess. Most of the umber and the yellow. Beautiful color scheme. I've done several, what you call monochromatic paintings using these, mono meaning one, so you can create some different colors. A little more gold over here. Once again, see I'm kind of blending it in, creating this nice feathered background. Just keep coming across. Man, isn't this fun? I tell you what, I love starting a painting brand new. And like we've talked about many times, you get about halfway through, and even though you're still having fun with it, and everyone loves to have a nice painting, you just can't wait. My mind's already thinking about the next one, which it is. I mean, I'm doing this piece, but my mind's already floating to the next one I've got planned, and it's going to be exciting as well. All right, now then, we now have a complete underpainting, okay? And that's important that we have that. Now you'll notice you've got your value system in place. See those nice values already? I think that's kind of pretty in and of itself. You could just do something with this. You can leave this as a background, put your nice animal there that's more in the light tones. What's interesting about this, we have a light background with a dark animal, but you can have a dark background and a lighter colored animal, so you can go either way. All right, now even though this is not dry, you could take a hair dryer and dry it. I could take a break right now and dry it and then start the program back up and then be dry. I'm not going to do that because now we want a lot of wildness and looseness. So it's okay even if you lift a little paint off the background. It won't matter in this case. That for a lot of you would panic, and a lot of times you hear me say that. Let it cure, let it dry before you go back over it so you don't lift off the background. Well, in this case, it doesn't matter because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on in here. Now you stick with the same brush. Go back to the same area. Now, if you'll notice at the top of the photograph here, see it's got a lot of those reddish, kind of brownish red tones back in there. Then it goes into more of the golden wheat color. Some of these golder tones down in here. Well, we're going to get some of these redder tones in there now. So now let's go here. Take a little more sienna with the yellow. Yes, you can add a little cad red to it. See that? Isn't that beautiful? Now here's the deal. I'm going to start up here. I'm going to skim it like this. See, I'm skimming. I'm barely touching. Now let me tell you why this is important. You want to see a little bit of that dark coming through. I'm going to make it just a little bit more red. Now I think you're going to start seeing why. Even though this painting looks simple, there's a lot of steps. There you go, that's better. But you've got to skim it so that you'll see some of the dark coming through. Go down, about a third of the way. That's okay to get darker or brighter, more condensed areas. So don't worry about that. Just don't get it all solid everywhere. And once again, remember you're constantly feathering. And the next step will even be a little redder than this. Sienna, cad red. You should have enough other stuff going on there that you don't have to add anything else to it. That's why I like working in the same area of color mixing, so that I won't, everything kind of blends together. It's very complementary and harmonizing at the same time. So here we go. Just keep going across, barely skimming the surface, picking up some of these reddish tints in there. Isn't that pretty? Man, I love this. These are some fascinating techniques. Yeah, it's great for tall grasses, prairies, fields where you have a little more of a grassy effect. And the neat thing is here, you don't have to pre-mix a huge pile of a solid color. That way you get a bigger variety up here anyway, which is what you want. Alright, and now that you see that, well, this next section here, we're going to make it a little golder. So now you just take more yellow. This will be the first time we're going to apply a little bit of white, so take a little touch of gesso. And the reason for that is to give it a little bit more of an opaqueness. Now it gets a little dangerous. Now, as the painting progresses, each step gets a little bit more challenging because you've got to have more brush control, lighter touch, just the right mixture, formula. You don't want so much paint on your brush you can't control it. But see that nice golden color right there? Now, start like this, kind of in the middle, and skim. Barely skim the surface. And see, by the time, next time we meet, we will just keep bringing this light up a little brighter, a little brighter. All I'm doing right now in this session, and for the most of the next session, of course, is just to get your underpainting in place before you start detailing it. And it takes a while to get the colors just right. But we're getting there. See, it's slow, progressive. Notice, remember how the dark was first, and we got the tones in there. Now we're starting to put our first phase of color, and you just got to be patient. Now, see, when you get ready to hit this, don't hit it too hard or you'll make a blob. The key is to be in motion before you ever hit it. And then go back over it quickly before it sets up to be able to blend it in slightly so there's no hard lines or edges or anything like that. Now, frankly, from about here all the way down, it's similar in tone. And just a touch more white. Don't put too much white in. It's another mistake so many of you make. You use a little too much white and you get that chalky look, and you don't want that, especially in this painting. See, it's a little brighter there. Well, that's okay. That's not a problem. As long as you're kind of skimming the surface like this, working it in, because all that's going to be blended in anyway at some point. What I look for is edges, endings to edges. It might be kind of obnoxious, you might say. You can kind of hear the swoop of the brush against the tooth on the canvas. Okay, now I'm just going to kind of feather back on them, hit a little heavier pressure. They go across, add a little, see, when you do that, you can make a little brighter spots. See, it's all about pressure now. Okay, I just put a nice little bright spot there. Another one over there. Just really cool. Okay, now let's go on down here to the bottom. Add a little more yellow to it. Umber and yellow. Touch of white. Thin it down a little bit. Now I'm going to show you another little thing we're going to do. This canvas board has a lip on it here. Okay, now I'm going to pull up like this from the bottom. as you go across. See, what we're trying to do is create this little variety of grasses moving different directions, continuing to build these tones. But if you pull up now and then gradually pull back, the same principle, instead of going up and down, now you're pulling up, but you're pulling back as you go up. So that's working. Slowly but surely, folks, this is going to be a beautiful painting. If you don't give up on the process, I will make you a promise. This is going to be something you won't forget. This is a technique that everybody needs to learn. Well, especially if you're a landscape painter. Obviously, if you paint portraits, this wouldn't help you too much, but it's great for landscape painters. Now, I'm not going to touch this between now and our next session, but I do want to, since we're about to run out of time, if you're following along on the program, it's kind of hard sometimes to keep up with it, I know that. But this painting, I think you can do a little better job of keeping up with because there's not so many different subjects. It's all kind of one, and you can kind of stick with it. The main thing now, which is stand back, and you can see the tonal values now. You see the darker, redder tones. You get into these middle gold tones and a little lighter gold tone. So you can already see the progression beginning to develop. So when you look over here at the photograph, and I want to remind all of you that we're still just in the underpainting stage. There's the darker tones, middle ground tones, and then the foreground here, you get, this will be a sort of a cast shadow from him. So obviously the light's coming in from overhead, hitting the top of his body, creating a silver lining. Not much detail in the animal himself, which is going to be good for most of you because then you don't have to worry about a whole lot of detail in the strokes for the hair and things like that. And then putting all these little seed pods and all the little wispy things is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get this painting a little further down the road. So hope you enjoy this next time on another session of Paint This with Jerry Yarnell right here at the Yarnell School of Fine Art, and we will have a great time, I promise.
Episodes of Paint This with Jerry Yarnell